Hey, it's Candy. Did you know that I have a quiz to help coaches choose their niche? Yeah, I do. It's super popular and it has been taken more than 20,000 times. This is a fun quiz that takes you about 2 minutes to do, and it will probably give you way more clarity on choosing your best coaching niche. So now, whether you say niche or niche, it's going to work for you. And if you're a coach and you have been stuck in niche indecision, wondering what to do, then you should take my quiz and find out what you learn. You can take the quiz today at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I'm going to help you find the clarity, confidence, and courage to become the coach that you are meant to be. If you're a new coach, or if you've always wanted to be a life coach, then this is the place for you. We're going to talk all about mindset and strategies and how to, because step by step only works when you have the clarity, courage, and confidence to take action. Let's get started. Hey everyone, we've got a special interview for you. Meg, say hi.
Hi everybody, great to be here.
Yeah, so we've got a really interesting episode. Meg and I met on Zoom, as we always do, and we came up with this idea of doing a joint collaborative interview. So Meg is an amazing individual. We really hit it off, but this is kind of like in the spirit of coaching. You know, like Meg, coaching is always organic. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, and yet it always works out. What are your thoughts so far on that? I just want to be really collaborative here with you.
Absolutely. So this show is actually going to be listened to by Candy's audience through her show, through my audience, through my show. And we actually met because I was talking to Candy about being on my show. And we said, well, why don't we just do something new and collaborative, and experiment with something? And isn't that exactly what we want to challenge our clients to do? Experiment, see if it works. This is something neither Candy or I have done, and boy, are we excited to do it.
Exactly. And for the people who are listening to my show, She Coaches Coaches, you guys are going to be listening to the conversation as it goes. It's not going to be super curated. We're not going to be doing a lot of heavy editing. I want you to hear this. And the reason that I want you to hear it is that I want you to know that you get permission to lean into unusual and different ways of working with your clients. And so we just want to sort of demonstrate that to you, that I don't know what I'm going to say. Meg doesn't know what she's going to say. And let's just see what we can create together. And so just giving you permission to do the same with your clients and to enjoy your coaching. All right. So Meg, you got anything to say before I officially introduce you to everybody?
Well, just one additional thing. I just recently had an episode come out on the Star Coach show where one of my former students on social media said, "This is like being on a fly on the wall with two of my favorite instructors." And because it was an interview I did on coaching mindset with a fellow instructor. And she said it was so awesome to see behind the scenes. And I think that that's what Candy and I would like to give to She Coaches Coaches audience, the Star Coach audience, just be a fly on the wall and listen to our discussion.
I love it. Okay. So let me first start by introducing Meg Rentschler to you. So Meg and I are doing this collaborative, but I want you to hear about her amazing background so you can have an appreciation for what she brings to this conversation. So Meg Rentschler has been working with people to create positive changes in their lives for over 40 years. As a clinical social worker and professional certified coach, she understands the importance of wellness in mind, body, and spirit to the wholeness of the person. In her company, A Focus on Results Executive Coaching, Meg has worked with leaders in a variety of industries, including healthcare, education, manufacturing, finance, and transportation, to create healthier work environments through honoring each person's contribution and unique value. In the desire to further the education and development of coaches and leaders, Meg created a weekly talk show in 2016, the Star Coach Show. And that word STAR is an acronym for strategies, tools, and resources. And in it, she offers guidance on skill and business development to coaches around the world and helps leaders use coaching principles to strengthen their effectiveness. Meg teaches and mentors in 2 coach certification programs at the University of Texas at Dallas since 2008 and Positive Coaching Solutions since 2016. She earned her Bachelor of Science from Michigan State University and her Master of Social Work from the University of Michigan. She attended the University of Texas at Dallas for her executive coaching certification. Meg lives in North Texas with her husband of 38 years. They have 2 adult sons and their dog, Coda. Meg, welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm excited for the conversation.
Candy, thank you. And let me tell everyone about the incredible person that I get the honor of having this conversation with over this next period of time. And that is Candy Motzek. Candy is a coach. She's a podcast coach. She's a podcast host and a business mentor. Candy is passionate about helping coaches launch successful businesses. Oh, heart be true. She knows that coaches need to sign paying clients to thrive. With her unique background as a former senior leader in corporate and now a thriving coach, she brings a wealth of knowledge and actionable insights that all of you are going to find incredibly valuable. Now, as a renowned business coach for aspiring coaches, which I know many of you listening are, she specializes in empowering intelligent professionals to launch and grow successful coaching businesses. She uses this unique blend of practical strategy and mindset mastery. Ooh, right there. She helps her clients achieve greater clarity, kind of the beginning of what we need to do, right?
Mm.
Her calming and personalized approach enables coaches to play bigger, sign more clients, and create meaningful and profitable success. I love the fact that you're a recovering corporate executive and
Yeah.
engineer. So
Yeah.
you're able to combine that business acumen with a deep understanding of personal development that really guides your clients towards their fullest potential. So once again, we're here on She Coaches Coaches and the Star Coach Show. Candy, thanks for letting me join you and for joining me.
All right. So let's start with this one question. And just when we were doing the, pre-call before we hit record, let's start with the thing like, Meg, what is it that you love about coaching?
What I love about coaching is the way that it honors our fellow human beings. Coaching is about true interest and curiosity in the other person. It's about like we all are whole and resourceful and creative, and we have these resources inside of us that when life happens, and doesn't life happen? When life happens, it gets covered up. It gets covered up with the overwhelm or the confusion or the getting caught in the weeds. And so as a coach partner, if I can step into that space with my clients and help them open up their lens, widen the way they're looking at it, create room for new opportunity, new potential, new exploration, that is a gift that, often as a therapist, because I'd been a therapist for over 20 years before I became a coach, I certainly could help people move into possibility and future, but it's different as a coach. It's we're able to maybe release some of the past that we spend time in therapy and really help people step into who they can be and focus on that future.
Mm.
I'm just curious how that lands on you and what your
Yeah.
thoughts are about the field of coaching.
Yeah, I love that. And this idea of sort of like this opening, this opening into a new perspective. And the perspective is about who you are and what do you want and who do you want to become, and are you on the path to becoming that person, right? Like, I think so often people are fixed in their life. This is not based on any scientific knowledge, but like we have this idea that, like the days kind of compound and we get used to living our life in a certain way. When we work with a coach, we get that pause, right? That time where somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to. And that little pause is a gift because now you can start to look at, like, what do I really want? And then to question in a safe environment, if I really want that, am I on my path to get that? Or am I the hamster on the hamster wheel? And if I could step back from my life and I stay on that hamster wheel, where am I going? And then where is that compared to where I want to be? So, a place of reflection and a place of self acceptance, and to allow that we have some kind of a vision for a bigger, better life. And just to make sure that we're actually moving in that direction, because that can take a lot of courage, right? To move into that direction. Yeah.
And courage to take the time to actually create that vision. Because I think so often we are responding to other people's needs for us or other people's demands on us. So I think that one of the things that working with a coach can do is say, let's put you center stage.
Mm.
What is important to you? What is the vision? If we don't have a vision or a destination that we're moving toward, then we're responding to everybody else's. And it's sort of like being a beach ball knocked around by the waves, right? We're over there, we're over here. And then at the end of the day, we're exhausted and maybe we feel like we've accomplished something, but is it moving us towards a destination? And have we given ourselves the gift of determining what that destination is?
Yeah. And like if you're one of these great multicolored beach balls and you've been bopped around all over the beach, is that really how you want to live your life? Right. I don't know about you, but one of the coaches that I work with, she sort of started me on this path. And now I use this question at some point in every coaching relationship that I have. And it sounds so simple, but it can be a really difficult question depending on where you're at in your life. And the question is, what do you want? Right? Like if you've been
Right.
living your life like the beach ball, like you spoke about that metaphor, do you even know what you want? And I'll tell you that I have seen some people who, outwardly, they got it all going on. Like they got everything. And then when you ask them that question, they don't actually know what they
Mm.
want. And for me, sometimes that's like the beginning of, okay, now we're ready to get on that path. I don't ask that question at the beginning of the relationship because it's kind of scary. Like I want a sip of coffee is one thing, but I want to change jobs. I want to get married. I don't want to be with this person anymore. I want children. I don't want children. I want to live in a different country. What do you actually want? And to allow yourself to want it is huge. Yeah. Do you have one of
I
these
love
kind
your
of
point
questions?
about, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to, but I'm just, and I just love your point about timing and balance. Not every question is is the right time. So we want to be aware of when's the right time to lean into a question that requires trust and safety, that requires, so it's not like we have a magic ball as a coach, but I do want the people listening to, be aware of the fact that you might have a really powerful question that you want to ask that will become that much more powerful if you put it in the parking lot for a while first, or if you know, build a little more awareness and trust between, let the client seep into some of their wisdom so that when that question gets asked, they're in a better place to be able to answer it.
Yeah, agreed. So, how do you notice? Because my audience is mostly newer coaches. So, Meg, how do you
Mm-hmm.
notice when is the right time to ask one of these questions? What are the signs that you look for in your coach and in your client?
Love that question. So to me, we're doing two things. We're exploring thoughts and we're helping client move into action. And to me, the balance is, have I explored enough about the thought? What's the belief they have? What are the values that they're assigning to this? Have I allowed the client to go deep in exploration, asking some of those questions that begin to ease into, how are you looking at this? What's important to you about this situation? Letting them begin to understand the lens that they are looking through. And until that lens begins to open a little bit, and the way that we know that it begins to open is that we're hearing new perspective. They're maybe seeing other angles of the situation. They're wondering about things. They're getting curious about what the possibilities could be. And as they are tapping into kind of the wonder of the situation, then they're open to being challenged to think even broader. But at first, if somebody lays a situation on the table, first of all, I want to keep my eyes on the client, not on the situation. They're looking at the situation. I'm going to look at, how are you looking at the situation? What about this is meaningful to you? And then as I begin to see that they're kind of looking with a broader perspective, then I think it's the time to begin to explore what else could be possible. What about
Mm.
you?
Yeah, I love that. And so just to sort of take my perspective on exactly the same thing first. So every coach approaches things a little bit differently. And so Meg has got an amazing way to watch the conversation, watch what the client is doing, watch where they're shifting their perspectives and where they're becoming more open. And I do it completely differently. And that's what's so much fun, right? So I watch the client. We've got a very similar approach. What I watch for is I watch for their body. I watch, where does their body relax? Where do they arrive at the call and lean in, as opposed to maybe when they're earlier, they're kind of like, what are you going to say to me that might hurt me? Right. So if you're watching any video of this, you're going to see the leaning in, like they're ready, they're open, their shoulders are more relaxed. And then there's one more thing that happens. And so, this is just between coaches, right? But when people start to be ready, my experience is that they do something different with their eyes. So they'll be a little bit more relaxed, they'll lean in a little bit more. But then when I ask them a question, maybe not a huge question, but a more open question, they'll see them, they kind of look down and to the left, and they start to look inward, and they take a little bit before they respond. And now I know they're really into asking themselves, like, how do I want to respond to that? Where does that apply to me? And so you're looking at the conversational, and I'm looking at the body. So interesting for us to know exactly, if there is such a thing, what our approach is. So the challenge to all the coaches who are listening is this: how will you know when it's time to ask a little bit deeper of a question? How will you know when that client is ready to receive it and to make the most powerful use out of it? It's kind of interesting, right?
Absolutely, because all of that, the nonverbal and the verbal together, are what we're reading and exploring. And I love that we were able to kind of touch on both aspects of that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. As you've worked with coaches, um, what are some of the things that you see potentially getting in the way that you would love to get to help them clear the path for their success?
Yeah. Um, Truthfully, it's the one, there's only one, and that is for them to realize how incredible they are and to stop pretending that they're not amazing, pretending that they don't have skills and strengths and a gift for the world, and this place where they allow fear to govern their actions and their perspective. That's it. That's the thing, is realize that you've got a gift that you can help people with, and to do the work even when you're uncomfortable. Yeah. What about you, Meg?
I would agree 100% and say that there's a mind shift that happens when we try to do something new. When we say, I'm going to learn a new skill, I'm going to lean into a new behavior. And suddenly, everything that we've done prior to that is like negated. And so, what I would say is, everyone who I've ever met that comes into the field of coaching was not born the day before. They have, a plethora of experience and perspective. And I think, Candy, one of the things that happens is, as a coach instructor, I know that there's a continuum between asking and telling. And many people come into coaching really, really good at telling. Because when we have built our lives and we've built our expertise and we've done all these amazing things, often our claim to fame is, this is what I know to be true. Let me share. Let me help you learn from me, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we stress in coach training is, let's build that ask muscle. Let's build our curiosity and our inquiry and our ability to do that. But I think that in building that muscle, the message that is heard is, whatever you did prior isn't important anymore. You're just going to be curious. The client's in the driver's seat. Yes, and you are bringing so much to the table. It's about balance again. It's about learning, when is it appropriate to offer a suggestion or um, to to share. So I've even heard from coach, you mean I'm allowed to share ideas on social media? I thought I was only supposed to be like this reciprocal, this holding this space for the client. There's a difference between what we do in marketing and what we do in the coaching session. And yet there's also so much that's the same, the curiosity and the needs that we're exploring with the client and all those things. But I guess what I would say to you is, yes, you have what you need. You're an amazing individual. And whatever you did prior to coming into coaching is still really important and still part of the fabric that you're woven with.
Yeah. And just so I really think that that's important. What you said is this: yes, you have coaching skills. We ask powerful questions. We listen intently. We hold space. We stay quiet a little bit longer than we might normally. We watch what's being said, what's not being said. Coaching skills as a tool. And then you've got a life's worth of experience. So, for example, if you're a business coach and you know exactly how to run the numbers for a business that is going to make a good, solid business, you are never going to be able to ask a powerful question enough to have your client understand what a profit is compared to a loss. So, how do you do that balance? Do you mind if I share how I try to balance this,
I would love
telling
that.
versus coaching? Okay, so I
Yeah.
use the hat method. And the hat method is, I am really conscious about, when am I wearing the advising hat? And when am I taking that advising hat off and putting on my coaching hat? And so, like the clients that you're speaking about, Meg, a lifetime of experience, and still we want to coach. So when you're conscious of what you're doing, being the coach or being the advisor, that's the place that I start. I teach my clients to do the hat thing, literally. Like it helps you when you know which side of the conversation you're on. And then we ask for permission. Is it okay if I have some experience in that? Is it okay if I share something with you? So that's how I approach it. How do you do that?
Well, and I think that that's much the same. I believe that people are hiring a coach to have that partnership and that I'm not a good partner if I have potential information that could be helpful, but I'm not sharing it because I think I'm not supposed to share it. So with that, one thing I want to say about that ask, tell continuum is that the importance of building the asking muscle, building that curiosity, is that we're not then just defaulting into telling because it's just what's more comfortable. There's a lot of gray space between these two extremes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's times to like you said, to lean into the different hats, to definitely to ask permission, to offer without attachment. One of the things that I'm observing here is this. How does that land on you? What are your thoughts about that? So often I find that just by offering without attachment, by being a part of the partnership and thinking to myself, am I offering what I can as a partner in this with the right timing and the right balance is absolutely key. And one of the things that I stress to the new coaches that I work with is if you're seeing something that you believe is valuable for the client, please offer it as an observation versus asking 52 convoluted questions, trying to get them to see what you see through a question. To me, that's being, and you might not be intending to be manipulative, but it's almost manipulating the client versus just saying, I'm noticing this.
Mm-hmm.
How does that land on you? And that will go so much further than trying just keep restructuring your question until if you've got a destination with your question, then it's not an open question anyway. Just share it as an observation. What are your thoughts about that?
Agreed, 100%. And so just, let's just be straight. Those kinds of convoluted questions to get somebody to come around to the point where they see the thing that you have identified is manipulation. It's not manipulation with a nefarious agenda, but it is manipulation. And so why not just say it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we were going to talk a little bit more about this place of trust and the level of trust with yourself and what you know, and the level of trust with your coaching skills. And it really feels like we're at that point now where
Mhm.
the listeners, you've heard that there's sort of different ways to approach something where you do have skill and where you do have something to add versus sometimes where there is just that powerful question and holding the space. And so, like you said, Meg, it's not quite a teeter totter, but it's a continuum, right? And on one side, we have the where we only ask pure coaching, only ask, hold space, don't interject anything. And on the other side, we have teaching and mentoring and guiding. And then we have this gray zone in between, right? So, how does a new coach know what to do? Like, I'm not sure that I know the actual answer, but it's a question that if
Mhm.
I was a new coach, I'd be like, okay, well, now you've told me there's two ways. I could be like, I don't know. How am I too far on one side? Am I too far on the other side? How do they know? How do you help your folks
Yeah.
know this?
That's a beautiful question. And it often comes up with the leaders that I teach how to use coaching in their leadership style. Because leaders in particular, their claim to fame is they're in their leadership position for a reason. So what I recommend as maybe just a way to begin is I I can think of very few conversations that are not enhanced by beginning with some curiosity to begin with. So even if somebody were to come to me and say, Meg, I really need your help with this, or I need you to tell me da da da, I'm going to want to understand first. Let me understand the way that this situation is for you. So, how are you approaching this? What are your thoughts? What is the destination that you're wanting to get to? Obviously, I wouldn't ask all these questions at once. I would stop and let them answer. But I challenge every leader that I work with. What would shift if you started with even two or three questions at the beginning before you launched into answering? What would that do to shift the potential response that you give and invite the other person into the solution? So for new coaches, I would say, you know, first of all, pay attention to the way that you are being received by your clients. I would recommend that you record as many sessions as you can and listen back to whatever you can, because you will hear your coaching back very differently than you hear it when you're doing it. And in that, you'll hear places that maybe you rushed in to share a story or share an experience and thought, was that really as impactful as I was hoping it was going to be? I'm not saying that we don't share. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, in learning, where do I step in that gray zone between the telling and the asking? Am I too quick? Did I harvest what I could from the client before I started planting my own seeds? What about you, Candy? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, those are great. Those are great questions and great approaches to ask yourself. So, just to lean into that, I would say that it's ask a little bit more than you feel comfortable, be quiet a little bit more than you feel comfortable. And I know that it can feel uncomfortable as the coach to be sitting in silence while you let your client kind of think about it. You'll see their eyes going all over the place while they think about it. But even if it's only 10 seconds that you sit there, just a little longer, just like earlier in the conversation, Meg, when you said, we've got so much of an expertise in the telling of our life, right? Like we know how to tell people what to do. Believe me, I am a great teller how to do things, right? But because we know that we're really strong, our muscle is really strong in that area, and our muscle is not as strong in the asking area, that means just do a couple more reps over in the asking area before you go into the telling. So I would say just, a little bit at a time, a little tiny step at a time, a bit more of a pause, one more question, wait, be quiet, and then you're ready to go. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that that's kind of practical.
Absolutely. And just one thing about, because I don't know about you, but I hear, oh, but it's so uncomfortable when they're quiet. And what if they didn't understand my question? And so I'll say, first of all, trust your client to like let you know if they need more information. I promise you they'll let you know. But the other thing, instead of, what's the conversation going on in your mind during that silence? And perhaps the conversation in your mind could be, wow, I must have asked a great question that deserves the time and the thoughtfulness to be able to respond. So I'm going to bask in, good on me. I asked a great question. Let me give my client some time to think about it versus why aren't they talking? Well, because you asked a great question.
I love that. That is great. Just reminding you. And also, your inner dialogue, how different it is when you're looking at the recording of your session. Wow. Do you ever get a different perspective? Yeah, I
Mhm.
love that. Gosh, Meg, we have spoken about so many different things today. Is there anything that you think we've missed? just as we get ready to wrap up this call, what's the one thing that you would love to stress?
So I think that what I want to stress is that it is possible to be a great coach and a great marketer at the same time. You don't have to choose one or the other. So often, what we tell ourselves is, I love to coach, but I don't like any of that business building. And I would just challenge you to think about, what is it that you do as a coach in the way of being curious and open and listening and give the other person space to grow and learn, that you can actually use to build your business as well. It's often very close to the same skill set, but we tell ourselves it is so different that we throw up these barriers to building the kind of business that will help us get our work into the world. And Candy and I both really want you to get your work into the world. So that's what I would say. You don't have to be either a great marketer or a great coach. I think you can be both.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, and the part of marketing, which is a large part, like you said, where you're using a coach-like approach, listening to people. What do they want help with? What are they saying? What are they putting their hands up for? And leaning into that is so valuable. That's just great. Oh, thank you, Meg.
So let me ask you, as we're wrapping up our time together, what was left open that you want to be sure that the coaches listening hear?
So, what was left open for me is really this place that coaching and marketing are not just complementary, but that there is a significant overlap. And one of the things that you said about putting up these, invisible barriers that holds us away from building that business so that we can be doing the work we love with the people that are just waiting for our help. I think that that's huge. Is so for new coaches and coaches who are wanting to get to the next level, instead of going, I don't know what to do, I'm no good at this, oh, I hate marketing, but I love coaching, take a little bit of time with your journal and ask yourself, what are the similarities between marketing and coaching? How does my being a powerful coach actually make me a better marketer? How could that be true? And start to find some evidence for yourself about how that might be true. And once you've seen it that way, you can never go back. You'll know that they're not mutually exclusive. Yeah.
So good. Your audience is so lucky to listen to you each and every week. And Star Coach audience, please subscribe to She Coaches Coaches, because you are going to want to continue to keep up with Candy's wisdom.
Oh, thank you, Meg. And same to you. And for the She Coaches Coaches folks, go check out Meg's podcast. She's got so many wonderful episodes. I'm going to make sure to put all the links below. So it's easy. You're just going to click on them and you can go and listen to her show. We talk to the same kind of people, but as with everybody, we've got a slightly different perspective. And I think that there is great value in expanding who you listen to and how you get help for your business.
So thank you so much for joining me on my show and allowing me to join you on your show. Also, all of you who are listening on the Star Coach Show, be sure to grab all the information about Candy in the show notes and in the links below if you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you, Candy.
Thanks so much, Meg. Okay, everyone, that's it for today. Joint audience, joint collaborative interview. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And make sure to subscribe and listen to this over and over. You're going to find that there's different things for you when you listen to this episode more than once. Thanks again, Meg. I appreciate the collaborative, the genuine, the kind and open approach that you bring. This is the kind of work that we do that makes coaching and the world a better place. So I appreciate having met you very, very much.
And I you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks again for listening today. Please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Also, I would love to hear from you. Did something that I say resonate? What else would you like to learn about? Click the link in the player and leave a comment on the post. This is going to give me great ideas for future episodes so I can help you best. Join me again next week for more coaching, support, and teaching to help you become the confident coach you are meant to be. Hey, it's Candy. Did you know that I have a quiz to help coaches choose their niche? Yeah, I do. It's super popular, and it has been taken more than 20,000 times. This is a fun quiz that takes you about 2 minutes to do, and it will probably give you way more clarity on choosing your best coaching niche. So now, whether you say niche or niche, it's going to work for you. And if you're a coach and you have been stuck in niche indecision, wondering what to do, then you should take my quiz and find out what you learn. You can take the quiz today at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode.